Welcome to the Faith in the Wild podcast, where the path is rarely straight, but always sacred. I'm Nicole Moran.
And I'm Angelica McCarthy. For 20 years, we've been walking this journey of life together, stumbling, rising, and discovering God's presence in unexpected places.
Today, we're creating space for conversation and reflection, inviting you to venture into the wilderness with us, because sometimes the most profound truths are found when we step off the marked trails and trust that we're exactly where we need to be.
So take a deep breath, open your heart, and join us as we explore what it means to have faith in the wild. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello. What is this?
This is the princess wave, right?
Yes.
I don't know. I tried it.
It's great. I'm glad we tried that this morning.
Yeah, just switching it up.
I think I'm just going to stick with the hay.
How are you, my friend?
Good.
Cheers.
Good, brisk. Oh, look at that mug. Everybody.
'Tis the season.
Get yours today.
Uh-huh.
I love the colors of that mug. It's just such a happy.
You know, you got to jazz things up sometimes, you know? Thank you for saying that, the happiness of it. I'm going to choose to be happy when I drink out of it.
Yes. Hug in a cup.
Hug. Oh, yeah. See, I just had a couple of ideas on that. So we'll talk offline about hugging a cup. Writing it down.
Anybody else? Hug in a cup in the morning. It's the best. Just warms you from the inside out.
Yes, truly.
Yes, Folgers.
Speaking of inside out.
I am for hire. Folgers.
Speaking of inside out, hugs and cups and beautiful things.
All things.
This week we're talking about, in our Faith Over Fear series.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about community over isolation and loneliness. And loneliness can feel so hollow. It makes me think of what that hug in a cup. If we're the cup. If we're the cup.
Ooh.
What's the hug in the cup?
You're just pulling the layers back already this morning.
I mean, you said it. I was like, oh, that works. It just flowed right out of me.
That was good.
The cup.
It's such a good topic. I really, really am excited about this conversation that we're going to have today. And I hope to continue to have, because the nerd inside of me loves all the research that's happening around loneliness these days, even by the Surgeon General, and on the importance of awareness. I think that's a word of going into next year for myself from a professional point of view. So I think it's really interesting that we're going to touch on it as part of our Faith in Action series here today. So I'm excited. I'm excited for this reflection also in our journal and our ebook that we have, that, we can spend some time with this today. But it's a very timely, right? We were talking just before we hopped on. It's brisk out. It's dark out. It's all the things that make you just kind of, you want to curl up a little bit and be alone sometimes.
Yeah. The cocoon, the warmth of a cocoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely that time.
That comfort in that. And so, as we go into each one of our episodes, we talk about the definition. We talk about how are we defining it, as Angelica and Nicole. So that sets a little bit of a stage for, our perspective in the next, following minutes of our conversation. And I think one of the things that I whenever I think of community, I just think of like opening my hands and giving a hug. I do. And that's interesting that I said the thing about hug in a cup, because I'm looking at community over isolation. Here, I got my two people again. Community is just like a gathering. There's a warmth to it, right? Like there's just, to me, I don't ever think of community as size. I don't justify community as size. It could literally be community of one. It involves a lot of the importance of relationships,
right?
And the evolution of relationships and the layers of relationships, because, we all have relationships with that are at different levels. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. I think that's a really good thing, and hopefully very diverse, and um, because we all have different walks. And so when I think of community, I don't, again, it's not about, for me, it's not about size. It's more the quality of what you're surrounding yourself with.
Yes,
What
I
do you?
love that word. I love that word quality
Yeah.
because, and that's the thing though, community, we don't necessarily have to know the people to be in
Yeah.
it. It's, yes, there can be a shared purpose and sometimes there isn't, but ultimately, God created us all to be of one body, which is his. So in the end, whether you know the person or not, whether you like them or not, whether XYZ or not,
Yeah.
I think if we're coming from that quality perspective, which I agree with wholeheartedly, it's to say the quality and purpose of it is because we're his body.
Yeah.
And that's community to me.
Mm.
So in building it most intimately, because you said the layers of it of relationships, that's so true. Like what is the environment, what is the community that you want to be in, that just you just want to bleed love, you want to
Yeah.
bleed thanksgiving, you want to bleed grace and care and all of those things, that it kind of just exudes out of you, the light, just you want to be the light in that. Like those are the fulfilling, most intimate of relationships and communities that can prevent that isolation, that can help prevent that loneliness or the deficits of it. It's everything is that yin and yang, the balance, the yes and the no of it's all part of a purpose, but in the essence of getting so drowned or held back in it to where it can cause, the health effects, the epidemic of it, versus
Mhm.
it being
Yeah.
just something where we're in a phase, we're in the stage where, God, what are you trying to show us? What are you trying to give us? What are you trying to, what are we doing? What trying to recognize and be
Yeah.
aware of using your word, that then allows us to continue to fill our cup, fill that hug, so that we can give the hug in the community.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Yeah.
where I think about it in the sense of we're all in this together.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. It's interesting. I was listening to somebody over this weekend speaking, and they were talking about um, I know where you're going to be in a year. I know where you're going to be in 10 years based on your friends, right? Or based on the people you surround yourself with. And so it's interesting because, I looking back on my life, right, always had that saying like, people are put in your life at a certain time for a certain reason and this and that. Like if you actually, live a little life, right, make a little mistakes, live a little life a little
Yeah.
bit, and you look back, you're like, oh yeah, they were, right? Like,
Yeah.
they were. You and I in our friendship, right? The 20 years that we have under our belts, unreal.
20 years that has a like it's an evolution of a relationship
Yes.
too. Like
Hmm.
in my opinion, I feel like we're the strongest in our relationship at this phase of it
Yes.
than
Agreed.
than compared to the beginning and compared to the middle, compared to like all the other pieces.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
interesting.
But I think, you and I are also more, there's been a lot of transitions, and we've talked about this in some other episodes. There's been a lot of transitions in our own self, right?
Yes.
Where I can speak that I probably was a little more isolated from allowing deep relationships because I wasn't opening myself up to be vulnerable to allow them to exist. And
Mm,
so I think, I look at the evolution of myself and being able to mature in who I am and who's in my community. Um, and that has definitely evolved over time, right?
yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with, we've talked about self-worth, we've talked about, um, confident courage, I think was one of the other episodes that we talked about. And I think a lot of
Yeah.
those things do evolve over time. And for me, it's taken 38 years, right? Gonna still be working on it down the road. Not saying this is, we figured it all out, but I think recognizing the importance of it um, is has taken some time. And a lot
Yeah.
of it has been self work to be able to open myself to access the community that I want to step into and be a part of and shine my light into and then be
Yeah.
able to shine it for others. And so I think key points, that we're talking about, it's not numbers, right? It doesn't have to be a large following, right?
Right.
It's really those quality relationships and the lights that you want to shine bright, right? Who we're supposed to be. And, um, I think some of it's self-reflecting and allowing yourself to be open to these relationships and um, acknowledging that not every one of them are going to be the same and they might be at different levels in your life, and that's okay. They might are supposed to be like that.
Right. Well, so you said something that I want to
Uh-huh.
continue the conversation on because I it resonated with me,
Okay.
but I'm gonna mirror it back just in a sense of being vulnerable enough to allow them to exist is what you said generally in that statement. And I would agree with you on that too, of what it looks like to be vulnerable enough to have that quality community versus just being of community.
Yeah.
And the difference I can see in myself, I can see
Mhm.
the year, I can see the day, I can see the moment where that the the global shift of just being, and yes, you can have tons of friends but
Mhm.
still feel isolated. You can have you could be all over the world doing tons of millions of things, amazing things,
Mhm.
or you could be, in your community doing tons of millions of amazing things and
Yeah.
still feel isolated and lonely
Yes.
within. And I think that's the difference of being vulnerable to allow yourself to build that deeper relationship. But it's not, in my opinion, it's not with people, it's the deeper relationship with God,
Mhm.
to then allow that to develop, to have that sense of that light that you were talking about.
Yeah.
What are your, like, what talk to me about isolation and loneliness? And we had also talked about another word, which I'll let you drop that word, but that sense, that difference of that isolation, the need of it versus the not the need of it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, so I guess the yin to the yang, right? The community, the counter side to that is that isolation and loneliness. And this word loneliness, one, if anybody ever wants to talk more about that, like I'll totally geek out on it. Because I just think it's so important to be brought to light. We talk about light. We need to talk about loneliness, but we need to talk about loneliness in the phase of what it actually is and what it is not. And so, Angelica and I were talking before this because there's an aspect of being alone, an act of being alone, that you're actually not pulling away. You're actually drawing closer to God in that moment. And the surrounding word to that is solitude. So if we think of the act of being alone, you could be alone in solitude, but in solitude, when I think about that, is you're actually drawing closer. You're drawing your relationship closer to God. Um, in that time we see God do it as well, right? When he left his disciples to go pray on the rock, and he wanted that time to be closer to God, to have that solitude, to reflect. And it's, again, it's not about stepping, I guess it's stepping away. It's not about stepping back, right? So you're stepping away to draw closer.
Mm,
And so I think that's really important to differentiate. And that's something that I know you wanted to also bring up in this. And then you have that isolation. So then you do have that stepping back, right? So then you do have the stepping away, right? You have that act of like, yeah, I'm just gonna start, maybe to me, it's like, let me just start building my walls just a little bit, right?
yeah.
And then you live there long enough. And to me, that's when loneliness sets in. Now, mind you, I am not a heavy researcher in this. I am just a fangirl that wants to talk about this and bring this to light because I think it's
Yes.
a really important topic to talk about.
Yeah.
I am by no means an expert in talking about this, but I think it's an important conversation that we need to have at whatever level of uh, you know, research or whomever you are to have this because it's just such an important topic. And acknowledging that it exists and can ebb and flow in a day, it can ebb and flow in your week, in your month, and it can live with community,
Yes.
right? Which I think was a very important thing, Angelica, that you highlighted, right? You could be around people. Like I just picture it in your head, right? Like you're standing in the middle of a holiday event coming up, right? Tis
Coming
the
up.
season, right? Tis the
Mm.
season. You're with friends or coworkers having a party or whatever that looks like to you, a luncheon. Talk about family and those conversations. I'm not even going to bridge that gap. Um, but you know what I mean? Like you're
Yeah.
standing there and you're just standing and you have everything just going around you, right? Like I just picture this. Everyone's moving around you, but like you're just not there.
Yeah.
Just not there. Physically you are, but mentally and emotionally you're isolated. You're out of that. And that to me is the difference between solitude, which is drawing closer, physically away from others, but drawing closer to God. And then you have that isolation where you really start building those barriers up, and
Yes.
separating yourself away, from your community, from yourself, and from God. So that's how I differentiate them. What are your thoughts? Those are
No,
Have I
that's
even answered your question?
no, well, I think the you did. You the in answering the question that it's that to be vulnerable,
Mm,
to go closer to God and allow that to be the first step
yeah.
versus let me actually kind of cocoon myself and put up those barriers that actually aren't that don't serve. And why are we putting those up? What emotion, thought, image, feeling is telling us that we would be better off alone, or we would be better off. um some people have the ideations of ending life in the sense of I'm better off not being here versus actually let me allow myself to draw closer to something of meaning and mattering and that deepest most intimate of relationships. And it's a vulnerable thing because to get there through the Holy Spirit we got to go to self first. Like it's something where we got to peel the layers back to at least want to find it or to be within it. Because yeah, sometimes if you're an introvert, if you're an extrovert, sometimes your personality doesn't want to be around community, but community is how we were made. it's
Hmm.
it's we're all connected in every last thing, just as much as we may not think it or believe it, we actually are.
Yeah.
So the sense of the vulnerability to it is to allow ourselves to be
Mhm.
called to him, to differentiate ourselves in that solitude versus the isolation, or that loneliness that is the epidemic part. And we were in a pandemic, we were
Hmm.
forced to shift our livelihood. So that's obviously what it's stemming off of, is that forced isolation. And what was it that put us there? Fear of a disease
Hmm.
that could
Fear.
kill us, that could kill the most vulnerable on top of that,
Yeah.
that had pre existing
Yeah.
conditions. So I think the thing of it is how, like, maybe I don't know if that's a question right now, but how we continue to build ourselves out of that loneliness. And when you say go to community, like, to just do that is not easy.
Mm-mm.
You don't just flip the switch and do that. You can, but I think maybe there's a question in there of like the how we can start to
All right.
grow out of that if we are in that, and see
Yeah.
see the good of community,
Yeah.
belonging.
Yeah. I think it's really important. I think I like that question. I'd love to dive into that in a little bit. The one thing, because you were talking about the pandemic, so of course I go back to research. Interesting fact, when I was looking more into the research and how we were really defining loneliness and what research is saying out there right now. Did you know that they're saying that loneliness, let's see if I can find it, is as like they define it as lack of social connection. So let me be very specific here.
Yeah.
This is the US Surgeon General, by the way. This isn't Nicole. This is the US Surgeon General. Um, saying that the lack of social connection is as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day.
I can't even imagine smoking 15 cigarettes a day, but
Yeah,
multiply that by,
right.
yeah,
And so that's research. And it's interesting. You go to the Bible, and this isn't new news, right?
right,
Like we were made like two are better than one. God made us in the image of Him, and He made us to be in community. Like it's stated in the Bible, history, not new news. Fascinating fact about the cigarettes.
right.
um, to like paint the picture of the severity, like you're talking about of the epidemic that we're in with loneliness. And how do you, Angelica, here's my question. I talked about how I define solitude and isolation and loneliness. I'd love to hear your perspective on those two before we dive into some of the hows.
Yeah, the interesting thing is like if I had a choice to be in solitude, I would so pick it right now because I feel
End
that
of
I'm,
podcast.
yeah, like give it to me, please. Because I can tell where, and this is just internal perspective, Angelica, of just where she is in what she's doing. So this may not resonate for a lot of people, and it may in the same breath of the solitude. Every morning, that's I want to start the day in solitude with God.
Yeah.
That's the practice. That's the meaning for me. That's how I connect my relationship to surrender, to remember of his grace, of his love, all of those things, because some of these days are hard out here. And as one that gives for the type of calling, that the gifts that have been placed in me and on me, it's to be in community is I have to be in community because that's what I'm here to give
Yeah.
is to serve. So community is, you know, those are the people. People are my community. But it is so much it can drain and take so much out of me. It can I would say I would identify as being empathetic and empath, and with that it takes up even more energy. It's an
Yeah.
internal the cup ends up overflowing for others, but it doesn't become full. So that not the isolation, the solitude, excuse me, is something that I very, very, very much look forward to.
Mm.
If it's not daily, it's weekly. Um, just for the fact of filling my cup up.
Hmm.
And as far as then in answering your question, the other side of it, the isolation part, there have been many times where I've felt isolated and lonely
Mm.
in in the in spaces,
Mhm.
even out in community. As I'm there to be for community and serve, I can still feel isolated and lonely and put the walls up. And I think the difference of that for me in the walls is just as much as it's could be saying like what are you building up, what is giving you that sense of building up. It's can also be a reflective um moment, and I allow that to be a reflective moment versus it being leading to a sense of depression, or which it had. I would say I've probably allowed it to be depression without really honoring it or like being present with it. But looking back, I'm sure I would say there was probably a moment of depression. um
Mhm.
but choosing to allow it to be okay, is this where God is actually guiding me to be somewhere different? Is this
I-
actually where this isn't my community anymore?
Yeah.
And if I'm feeling this way, why am I feeling this way? And how can where is shift supposed to be? Am I actually supposed to take rest in his solitude? Because that's half of the battle too, is not resting, not finding space to for clarity, for openness, for that vulnerability, for that relationship with him.
Mhm.
And so, I mean, like I said, this may not resonate with a lot of people and it may resonate with even more people, but it's more so of that's how I find myself looking at it now and being it now. Because I've been all things,
Right.
the whole spectrum that we've
Mhm.
talked about. I've probably in a day, probably
It's gonna-
most recently too, of um if there is that, and loneliness doesn't just show up either.
Yeah.
Let's be frank about that. It doesn't just show up. It's something that next thing you know, especially if you're not aware, next
Hmm.
thing you know, it's like, huh, wow, I'm starting to feel this sense of not belonging, or that this isn't my place, or I don't feel comfortable here. And
Hmm.
in paying attention in the moment and being aware in the moment, and those things, just as much as they may be showing you something, they may just be, but
Yeah.
how that's where in your awareness you're able to discern or make a choice to, okay, this isn't my group of people, or this isn't my community, or actually it is, but what is that fear inside of me? What is
Yeah.
something inside me that's telling me that I'm not supposed to be here?
Yeah.
um and I would say, as we're continuing to grow
Yeah.
and we're starting to grow into uncomfortable spaces, the uncomfortable part is going to draw up fears in us. It's going to draw up that sense of what it may be to want to be protected and isolated, or versus actually
Closing your
let
hand.
us, yeah, to be closed versus being in the new
Right.
community that we're trying to, well, one, we're leaders, and I know like the gift that he's given us is to be leaders in community. And on top of that, we're building community. So it's like that's the most vulnerable, like open up the chest
There
cavity,
it is.
the heart is there.
Yeah.
So for us to be that in uncomfortable spaces, in spaces that we're building that we have
Yeah.
may or may not know how, who, what, where, when, how,
Yeah.
it could be very easy to be isolated in that as you're building it, or not do it at all. So there's that sense of going to solitude versus loneliness, go to community
Yep.
versus loneliness.
Mhm.
They all have a play a role. They all are tell us different things, but
Yeah. It's, as you're talking, I'm thinking of the different stages of the life that I've lived so far, and the reactions, um, that have had me kind of close up or isolate myself in situations where a lot of it's internal. I will say it's you're not going to see it. Um,
yeah,
my inner circle may feel it a little bit more, but like to the average eye, you never know. I'm an extrovert, right? I love people. I love being around people. I love having conversations, and that doesn't stop even in my in vulnerability, like even in my isolation. Those actions don't stop. And so, I will say a big practice of mine over these last few years have been that awareness, that acknowledgement, that self identification, and it's only been done being by drawing closer to God, right? And so, um, that's that practice part, right? And so, as I'm going through something right now that can be very isolating, um, in my own journey, it's interesting to be able to like go through it now and be able to notice it, where like previously, oh, walls would have been up,
yeah,
like it. And I can tell you because it's happened previously, walls were up, nobody knew, nobody knows. And so you almost, I'm like, let me just put myself there, because if I don't acknowledge it, nobody else will acknowledge it, and then it doesn't exist.
right.
Wrong answer.
So wrong.
Wrong
That's
answer.
the fact that you just said that it doesn't exist, but it's
Right.
like, but it does exist.
But it does exist. And so this time, going through the, kind of the same thing in a different time period, this is 4 years later, sitting in it and acknowledging it, one, and allowing me just to be there for a moment, right? Allowing myself to feel the feels, to like almost like I always say like a pulse check. Like let's just find the emotions, let's just feel them all. Um, try to keep those walls down as best as possible because like I could feel like midday. They're just like nope,
Mm. Mm.
nope, right? And then the active of just, a lot of those times it's like I'm in my own eye. Like I'm feeling this way. I'm this.
Yeah.
Like, and I think I needed to stay there for a minute. But actively notice the conversation I had with God the next day is like, I don't want to stay there. Help me get out. I don't know how to do this. I don't feel comfortable doing this. This is, there's a fear factor in
Yeah.
it. Um, but the next thing I know, he's speaking through me and the emotions just draw out, and allowing myself to work through it in solitude, which was very different than the day before, which was very much an isolation and loneliness. Um, and then having my community texting my people, and being like, hey, let's come over. And luckily the Eagles were on. We're not happy with the outcome, but we'll get through it. But you know what I mean? But having those people to bring in not only my family, but some close community friends, and just being able to laugh, right? And just being able to work through those moments. And I think that to me is like, we're talking about this community in isolation. I don't even know if I told a good story, but it is vivid when you're actually practicing daily, within your faith and growing closer and closer. Every inch matters when something then hits the fan.
Yeah.
In those moments where you're just like feel completely gut punched, right, to go through something. And you're like, wow, I really am not alone. Like, it's not just speaking these words. We're not just speaking these words. Angelica and I are living these out daily, uh,
Living.
in personal and our professional lives. I mean, this is a topic that I find of very interest. And then also, going through it like we all are, right? We're all going through something. And so very much this weekend, I was thinking like, wow, just the practice of thinking that others are going through something, um, giving myself that grace, whether you're, again, I like to go to the grocery store on the weekends. I like to roll the dice on it, but you never know what that other person who's like, rushing through or bumps in your car or cuts you off, gets the parking spot. You never know. And it just allows to give myself the grace to go through the thing that I'm going through, being the mess that I have been, but also giving that to somebody else. And that's a really powerful thing
Yeah.
to be able to move through. And so,
That's the key word there. Move through.
yes,
That's,
yeah,
as you were
active.
just sharing that, that's it. Those are the small little actions that you were doing. You were moving through
Yeah,
it, whether it felt great or whether it didn't. You know,
yeah, doesn't.
that's the essence of it. Because to just as if it didn't exist, put it off to the side, you can't. You can, but the health behind it, the stats that you were saying, that's the health behind it. That's the actually the ill health behind it versus let me move through it and take the actions that are for self just as much as being a part of something because in the end we're all big. It's all of this is bigger than us. This is overwhelming, this life we live. So why not like lock arms with people
Right.
that we care and
Mhm.
that can feed us, fuel us just as much as we fuel them. Like that's abundant to me. I feel good when I
Oh,
see
I
that.
love that word. Can we use that word today?
Abundant,
Abundance.
abundance. It's a practice that has
Oh,
been like
oh, I'm writing that.
I choose that because
Yeah.
we get in that lack mindset so easily. And by we, I mean me. Like I don't need to speak for anybody else. I sit in lack. It's easy to sit in lack because especially as you're trying to grow as a person, but as we get caught up in culture. We get caught up in things that we should have, or, Black Friday is here, y'all, as we're recording this. So all the deals and the holidays and all those things, we have to have all these things where it's like, actually,
Good.
are we good? Are you good? But in that sense of what you don't have, it's so easy.
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if I do have community, if I do have a great deep relationship with God, that's going to help me. And if I don't have community, help me find the one that is the one that I'm supposed to be a part of,
Yeah.
and to continue to serve, and it's that abundance of life, starting out with that. That's
Question for you.
Tell me.
Bringing it back to the how
Yes.
question that you were asking.
Yes.
So how do we do it? How do we start? If you know, how do we start it? I think you talked a little bit about, coming closer to God and that willingness and that
Yeah.
vulnerability. And um, I do want to highlight when we have that vulnerability and what you were saying is that that doesn't mean you have to have it all together before you go to God. That means you just have to have that openness, right? To
Yeah.
just take that step. And I'll let you kind of dive in a little bit more because I want to hear your
Well,
mentality of your question of how do we.
that's so true, because I will say I've been that person too, of let me get my act together and then I'm going to go to God. It's like, no, he actually wants you at your weakest of moments so he can show you how he can show you himself. So the how is definitely multi-tiered of a how. In the end, it comes back to self. And for me, at this stage, in this phase of life, it's a knowing of what do I believe? What is my belief system?
Mm,
What am I saying? What do I know? What am I feeling? Because if I don't know those things, I'm going to still show up in a way that may or may not be authentic of who I am.
authenticity. There we go.
Authenticity. So at that layer, that's the work that chips away the more that you do it. And then you think that you're at that layer where you're okay, I know, and then next thing you know, you're digging even deeper. Um,
Yeah.
but the how of it, from the self and God perspective relationship, go there. And sometimes it's just in like opening your mouth and
Yeah.
starting to pray and be vulnerable in that sense. And we're not perfect in it. So
No.
that's actually the most like, oh, it's you can be naked in it and you're
Mhm.
comfortable,
Mhm.
but sometimes it's hard. Now,
Yes.
as far as the external of it, um, the the act of service is usually the first one, that volunteering, being a part. But you don't want to force yourself into it, because what if you force yourself into it and willpower only gets you so far?
Yeah.
And that's where you come back to that authentic truth of self, of what would make you feel as though you are a part of community.
Hmm.
If it is volunteering, if it is serving at church, if it is, if your spiritual gift is service versus giving, is so many different ways, as we know, whether it's financially, whether it's serving at the soup kitchen. So those, I guess those are the big ones, because I keep coming back to the same type of examples of being in community. But
Yeah.
it could even just be in the smallest of things, of you're at the grocery line and you're paying for someone's, you know, coffee behind you, that type of situation. So it can show up in so many different ways. And I plant the seed of curiosity in each of us to be curious and creative as to
Mhm.
how we can be a part of community in different ways. And it can be just in thanks and in giving and serving, or whatever it may be, whatever that thing that fuels your soul, fuels your heart. um that's where you go to.
Yeah,
that's how you can um,
I love that.
show up for others.
I'm so happy you said that because I wrote that down as we were like kind of talking, and I was thinking of like bringing it together in some active steps because I think this topic is, it's a big one and we brushed on it really. Maybe just a pencil tip because it really is such a large conversation. And please know that we are here. We are here for you. We see you. We love you. You're chosen by God. And so you are in our community. Thank you for listening. And please don't hesitate to reach out to us. We
Yes.
are a part of a community for you. You are not alone. So I did want to say that. But the really cool thing is I was like, I just kept writing down. I was like, oh wow, like we have some steps here that we're creating. And like you just went through them all. And I was like, this is great. This is a great idea.
Yeah.
So me and my list, because that's the phase of life I'm in, wrote them down. And the one is pray and seek God, right? So pray and seek God and it comes back to what you were saying and that openness and that vulnerability and keeping, I'm gonna go, I feel like I have to do it in every one of these episodes keeping your hands open, right? Like
Yeah.
it's opening yourself to be vulnerable, um, to allowing God to work in you. It's really can feel fearful because there is some unknown to that, but that trust in His truth and what He says about you and what He says about us and who we are will fill that for you. It'll fill that void if you continue to remind yourself who that is. So pray and seek Him. Um, Pursue community, right? So, like you were saying, pursue community, pursuing um, your people, right? And also acknowledging if somebody isn't supposed to be part of your community anymore, that's okay. It
Yeah.
was part of your story, um, but your story is going to continue thereafter as well. The other thing, reflection and solitude. I know you're a big fan.
Love it.
Big fan. I'm working on it. That stillness
Yes.
is a practice for Nicole in everyday life, but I do believe in those mornings. That has been the most helpful in my life. And even in this morning, right? Taking that extra 15 minutes, and it might have been the snooze button, but it also might have been solitude.
Yeah.
Having those conversations. Um, I gotta tell you a story about an image that I saw after, but I gotta get through the fourth one. And then the last one, the last one is the service of others. This one for you and I is just like makes our hearts bigger because this is a gift that God gave us. And I know for some others that feels heavy, that might feel heavy to you, and that's okay, but the key is the others part.
Yeah.
When we serve something other than ourself, there is fulfillment that is directly coming back to you because within that you will build community through service of others. We are made to be like Christ. We're made to be in His image, and this is something that is very, very much highlighted throughout the Bible is the service of others, and it doesn't need to be big. Again, I will highlight this. I think every single episode doesn't need to be big gestures. It can be the paying for somebody's coffee. It can be opening a door. I heard somebody one day, every day they asked their grandson, how did you serve others today? And so he called his grandfather at the end of the day and said, I opened 6 doors today. That is how he served others. And he said, have a great day.
Yeah.
And the ripple effect that that can have on the impact of not only that individual, not only yourself, but the larger community, because that could be tenfold. That can be 6 people that hold the doors for 6 other people that, you know what, they really needed that door opened for them today by somebody else.
Yeah. All you have to do is like just give eye contact and smile. That's how
Yeah.
small. Like it doesn't, yeah, it's the smallest little things
Yeah.
that could really just
Yeah. Change the trajectory of somebody's day.
like truly, truly.
Yeah. So I think it's just so it's these 4 things, it can be a heavy topic, small chunks, realizing that solitude is not isolation, it is not loneliness. And if you find yourself there, you are not alone. Go to God.
Yeah.
Also find community in us, spend some time journaling, reflecting, write those feelings down. They are emotions and we do have them and there is a point of acknowledgement. And I'll say to myself, there is a point of staring in the mirror. staring at this podcast, there is a point of acknowledging that they do exist and not shoving them, putting them,
Yes.
locking them away because they do stay, they do hang around. And so I challenge everybody to do that.
Mm. Those, oh,
That's what
I
I
love all of those. And
got.
we'll have those are in the ebook if anyone,
Yeah,
if you weren't able to write them down, because
we got you.
those are so, ugh, those are good.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
just want to remind everybody you're enough too. You're
Yeah.
not alone. You are enough. We are definitely here.
Yeah, we are
Wholeheartedly.
wholeheartedly in all of the chaos that belongs in what we bring. And so thank you for listening. I think that's
Yeah.
gonna wrap
Did
this
you want
up.
to tell your story or do you want to?
What story?
You said you had a
Oh, that I was,
story.
oh, yes. So the image that I want to paint in your picture is, um, when this was going back to like me doing it in the morning after I hit the snooze. This is where I find solitude because this is the moment of stillness in my life because once the day gets started, we're moving.
Yeah.
Um, but I had the image of I was reading, somebody painted the image of, sometimes where you press the snooze. A lot of times I'll talk to God at that moment of my life, just, thanking him, asking a lot of questions of things and for his grace. And then sometimes I tend to fall back asleep. It's why we hit the snooze button instead of the stop button. But it's interesting. So somebody painted the picture of, a mother, and we can think about this when we were younger, and a child that had fallen asleep, and she's carrying the child. The head's asleep, head's on the shoulder, and it's like, have you ever thought maybe that's actually how God feels
Hmm.
about us when we come to Him? Even if it doesn't look like it's all put together, even if it doesn't look in that, but we find rest in him, in the conversation, in him. And maybe that's us truly just putting our heads on his shoulders. And that's how he feels when we decide to come to him, even if it doesn't look perfect. So that, I don't know. I hope that painted the picture. Thank you. But
I think it did.
that just stuck with me because sometimes I'm like, oh, I keep falling asleep in the mornings. Like I got to find a chair. I got to go do this. I got to go do this. And it's like, no, it's actually okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. And he feels that that's okay. And so that picture, because I'm a very much a visual person, um, puts a lot of grace into my
Mm,
life in those moments. And so wanted to pass that on to somebody else if they needed to hear that.
yes. Me. Thank you. It's always good to remember and be reminded
Yeah.
because we can get caught up and forget. So,
Mhm.
yes.
Yeah.
Well, until next time,
Yes.
where we keep moving forward along this path of faith over fear and all of its components, and just that call to action of how we can
Yeah.
just keep showing up in all the good ways. Let's choose that faithfulness over the things that keep us away from
Yeah.
our truest and fullest. So awesome. I
Let's do
thank you,
it.
my friend.
Yes.
Hugging you and loving you.
Love you. Hugging you and loving you. That's good.
Yes.
Go make a t-shirt.
Until next time, you all.
Bye, everybody.
I know. As we bring today's journey to a close, we invite you to carry these reflections into your own wilderness moments this week.
Remember that growth rarely happens in comfortable spaces. It's in the questions, the uncertainty, and yes, even the doubts, where we often discover the essence of ourselves and our faith.
We're so grateful to have you walking alongside us on this path. Until next time, may you trust the journey, embrace the wilderness, and find God in the wild spaces. This has been Faith in the Wild podcast. I'm Angelica McCarthy.
And I'm Nicole Moran. Thank you for listening.
High five. High five. Love your life.